audience. My name is Chase Oliver. I'm a candidate for president with the Libertarian Party, and I'm traveling through Virginia today to ask for your support and for your vote. I want to be an alternative to Donald Trump and Joe Biden 2.0 in our election, because right now, that's probably what we're going to be getting from the two-party system. And voters are dissatisfied with that choice. And so I want to be an alternative that people can feel good about voting for. I want to tell you a little bit about my background, a little bit about my policy, and why I'm here in Virginia. So my background is this. I am a guy who got into work. My education is the School of Life. I did a couple years at online college, but really, I spent 13 years in the restaurant industry. I started out as a dishwasher, and I worked my way up being a consultant to the industry to where I was helping advise new entrepreneurs and new chefs on opening up their business. From there, I moved into corporate logistics, where I learned the importance of moving goods from A to B and how important and interconnected the world is through trade. In that process, I've also been an activist my entire adult life. I started out as an anti-war activist because 9/11 happened when I was in school. I saw friends of mine getting sent to the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, and I opposed those actions, and so I got involved. And through that, because George W. Bush was a Republican, I, by default, became a Democrat because I had not yet heard about the Libertarian Party. We'll fast forward a little bit. Barack Obama gets elected. He doesn't win the wars. He doesn't close Gitmo. He doesn't talk to our opponents through diplomacy. And he gets a Nobel Peace Prize. And so I left the Democratic Party because I realized they weren't really an anti-war party. And lo and behold, a couple years later, I was at the Atlanta Pride Festival and ran into our candidate for governor that year. And he asked me, what is the most important political issue to you? And I bet you're pretty libertarian if you think about it. And I said, I oppose the war on terror and the war in Iraq with every fiber of my being. And the next words out of his mouth were, welcome home. It wasn't, well, what's your view on economics? How do you feel about this issue? Are you a real libertarian? No. He said, welcome home. You can come in here, sit down with us libertarians, you'll learn about stuff, you'll engage in discourse, it'll be great. And that's the kind of candidate I want to be for president. If you believe that the government is too big, broadly speaking, I want you in our tent. I want you to come to liberty. I want you to be a libertarian, even if for one election, so you can see what we're all about. Sit down, enjoy the room, you'll make friends, trust me. And that's the kind of campaign I'm running. An outward-focused campaign, an aspirational campaign that talks about the best of our political philosophy. Nationally, we have real issues going on. We have record runaway inflation right now in this country while families all over the country are trying to raise kids and the cost of living keeps going up and up and up. And so we have to have an answer to that. And what is causing inflation? Some people in the media will say, it's corporate greed. Well, let me ask you a question. Are corporations suddenly more greedy than they were 5 years ago? No. Corporations have always been greedy and wanting money. So that's not the answer. The truth is because our government spends more money than it takes in. And to make up that difference, we print dollars out of thin air. And when we print money out of thin air, it devalues all of our money. Even your savings is being eaten away by the hidden tax that is inflation. And we need to stop that. And the way we stop that is by balancing our budget. It's not a difficult thing to do. We did it in the 90s, and we had the largest explosion of the middle class our country's ever seen. Those two things are not unrelated. They're not unconnected. And so we need to balance our budget. And it doesn't take a lot of work. At our current revenues, all we have to do is get our spending back to 2019 spending before the pandemic. And our budget is balanced. It only requires that we cut all the excesses that we don't really need. And when we do that, we're going to put our economy back on the track that it needs to be, paying down the debt so that young people aren't suffering the consequences of our broken economic policies in 20 or 30 years. And so that I can retire in security and comfort knowing that the economy is not going to go in the toilet right as I'm retiring, right? And so that's an issue that is important to every single American family. But there's other issues that are extremely important at the national level. I'm also an immigration rights advocate. Why? Because immigrants are human beings and all human beings deserve the same inherent human liberty and rights. All of us, I don't see any Native Americans in the room. If you are, please raise your hand. But if there's no Native Americans here in the room, we all came here from somewhere else at some point, or our ancestors did. And so we need to talk about the immigration crisis in our country. It's not caused by immigrants, it's caused by bad government. We should have an Ellis Island-style immigration system. If you want to come here and work, come here and work. Just declare that you're here, and that's all we really need. That you're not sick and you're not wanted for some sort of crime that we would require you to extradite you back. But as long as you're just here to work, you should be allowed to do that. Because that's proverbially what 99.9% of immigrants want to do. Just come here and work, put down their roots, start their American dream. And when we take the focus off of them and just allow them to come here and work, we can hyper-focus our border security and our law enforcement on the real crimes that happen on our border, namely the crime of human trafficking for the purposes of labor or sexual exploitation. That does happen, and I would really like it if our Border Patrol could stop it from happening. But it will never happen if we're only focusing on this massive amount of people who are doing good work. Lastly, one of the things I talk about a lot as a candidate for president is localism. Bringing our politics back to our local communities. If you are a parent in this room, please raise your hand. Keep your hand raised if you have unconditional love for your children. You would do anything for those kids. You would fight, you would die for your kids, right? All right. So shouldn't you be the advocate that has the most control over your family and over your life, as opposed to a bureaucrat who lives in Washington, D.C.? That bureaucrat, they may mean well, but they don't know you. They don't know your family. They don't know your community. You know those things. So why don't we take the power out of the hands of these faraway bureaucrats who don't have unconditional love for your children? They know your children as a number on a spreadsheet. Is that the person who should be making the decisions? Or should it be you who's the best advocate for your kid with regards to their education, their health care, or any other decision? Because you are going to be their best advocate. And that's what I want to do. At every level that we can, I want to fight to take power out of the hands of Washington, D.C. and bring it back to local communities just like this. Because you know your neighbors. You love your neighbors. And you're going to treat them with respect. And with that comes a better, more honest, more transparent government. That's why I'm here supporting Dave Krantz. He is a local candidate here in Virginia. I am traveling all over the country, not just to run for president, but the other victory, right? The idea that a libertarian might get elected president is a very hard victory, right? But there are other wins we can have, namely electing local libertarians all over the country so that they can begin the process of taking that power out of the hands of Washington, D.C., or even your state house, and bringing it back to your local communities. That's why I'm here to support Dave Krantz, and I want to tell you how you can both support me and him if you like what you're hearing from me. Now, my campaign manager back there is Steve Dosbach. He's real supportive of my campaign. In fact, he's so supportive of my campaign that he's already legally maximum donated all the money he can to me. He can't give me another dime, even if he wanted to. He hasn't max donated to Dave here. So here's what we're going to do. If anybody in this room tonight gives to my campaign, 120% of your donation will go to Dave Krantz out of Steve Dosbach's pocket. So let's make Steve spend some money. So I encourage you, if you want to give right here, right now, again, if you give me $100, Steve's giving him $120. So your money's doubling and then some. So if you want to give to this campaign right now, you can pull out your phone and text CHASE to 21,000. A link will pop up right there to donate. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way. Go to the website, votechaseoliver.com. Or you can do it the even more old-fashioned way if you got a checkbook and write us a check here now. But any money you guys give to my campaign tonight is going to get doubled and then some to Dave Krantz. So if you want to support Dave, please help me tonight in my campaign for president. I would love your support, honestly, for myself, but I also love to see Steve having to write out a big check to Dave right here, because I want to make sure you have everything you need to do what you need to do as a candidate, to knock on the doors, to talk to your neighbors, to have literature to put in their hands. That's the kind of work we need from a local candidate. That's why I'm here to support Dave. And I think each and every one of you have a great opportunity not just to support a candidate for president, which I do welcome your support, but also to turn that into even more money for Dave here. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Dave, let him tell you a little bit about his campaign, and if you have any questions for me or him, we'd be happy to answer them for you. Thank you very much. I hope you all have peace, love, and joy.